Hi, Mr. Lambert here from the Maths Department at Ladybridge High School. Just going to spend a short period of time talking to you about using the internet for research. Just some tips that I found, doing my own research using the internet, and best ways to make it effective use of your time and the learner's time as well. So these are the primarily the websites that I ended up using. I've just put the links on there if anybody wants to write them down, search them themselves and just look at these in a little bit more detail. Obviously you can see a couple of universities there, Oxford College and WikiHow as well. Some really useful things on there, so I've included as much as I can into this short presentation. Okay, so again, like I say, we're going to look at just some top tips. It's a strange topic really, because I know a lot of people are really experienced using the internet. I would say I'm somebody who's quite experienced using the internet, researching things quite regularly when planning lessons or delivering sessions in school, etc. However, if you're not, and you're not somebody who is tech savvy, as we would call them, or someone who just doesn't use the internet that much to research things, you have other ways of doing it, and that's not a problem at all. It's never too late to learn, and it's just the basics we need really to help the learners through school, and then obviously life after Ladybridge into college and university and so on. So there's about 7 tips, so we'll just have a quick look at some of these. First of all, it's about being picky. Generally, and I'll be honest, when I began putting this together, I searched researching using the internet and then tried to be more specific in what I was looking for, because being picky is really important. If you, for example, like the statement says, if you just search metals, you're going to get inundated with loads of different websites regarding metals. It might not be specific to what you are looking for, whereas actually what the learners need to be doing is searching something specific. So the example I've used here is if they were looking for some GCSE chemistry revision on reactivity of transition metals, literally type that in to your search engine. My personal preference is using Google. Maybe that's just because of habit or how it looks and how it works. Generally, I assume most people would use Google, but there is obviously other ones like Bing and Yahoo, etc. You type in that in, it's gonna be as specific as possible, rather than obviously just typing metals. I think the use of using GCSE in there as well is quite helpful, and Edexcel, obviously the exam board. So if the learners aren't aware of the exam board, they can speak to the teacher and they can help them out. Number 2, if there's anything practical, so again, for science potentially, or art, or PE, or design technology, anything like that. It could be any subject that has any kind of practical element. There's absolutely loads of tutorials online, YouTube especially, and we'll talk about the pros and cons of things like that in a bit, but in general, there's a lot of really good stuff on there for experiments, like I say, practical demonstrations. And what I like about it from a maths point of view, we have our general websites that we guide learners towards, but there is always a variety of people and a variety of websites, so you're not listening to the same person over and over again. Generally, if you struggle with something, so again, from say my point of view as a maths teacher, you can just Google, as it were, that problem, that calculation, and see not only the answer, because obviously that's what the aim is, but tutorials and tips and guides on how to get to that answer. That is always helpful, but again, that links really to the first one. It's being specific in what you are trying to look for, what you are trying to research. Number 4, you can waste a lot of time on the internet, as we are all probably aware, and especially young children, young adults do spend a lot of time on the internet, and a lot of that time could be seen as being lost time and wasted time. So I would always say go through your course materials first before going to the internet. I'm not saying that doesn't require the internet, but instead of going to a search engine, should I say, the learner should be aware of certain websites that they can go to, and there's another video online for you to have a look at related to subject-specific websites. They're always the best place to start. I think that's really important. But another place, obviously in this time where we are doing a lot of home learning, being in and out of school on a regular basis, is Teams. I know from our point of view as a maths department, and I know school-wide this is the case as well, that every lesson that we deliver in school we are uploading to Teams. The vast majority of lessons now will have tutorials that go with them if the whole year group aren't in school, for example, and at the same time there may be external links on there. I know I put external links for my classes on there to just for somebody else's explanation of a method, someone else's explanation of a model, but it also links to GCSE questions, or if you're Key Stage 3, links to more practice questions on that. So Teams is a really, really good place to start for your course materials. You can also use that to speak to the subject specialist or your teacher at the same time. But then again, go to the internet afterwards, and I think it's really handy for things like past papers, or like we said before, specific calculations that you're struggling with that we need additional help with. Don't trust just one source, and again we've talked about previously about YouTube, and we'll come to that in a minute. It's really important to compare some things, and I know Wikipedia, and I'll be honest, I go to Wikipedia quite a lot for certain things, and sometimes take it as gospel, but we know it's not. We know people can edit and manipulate Wikipedia, but so it's really important to look at sources, look at different websites, compare them. Is it giving you the same information? Are they credible? Are these websites we know about? Have you heard about them before? Have you used them before, etc.? So do be cautious about that, and we'll come to that in a bit. And a couple of things once you've got that information, just to briefly touch on it. Best form of information retention is to read it. Obviously, make some notes and practice it. It's really important, and different forms of practice. Obviously, there'll be other videos as well to help you out with that, and the learners out with that. Memory cards and summaries and things like that. So making sure you make the learners are making notes rather than just reading things and clicking from website to website. What I found as well, because I've done it many a times, you go on a website, it's really good, but you close it down and you can't find it in history because it was weeks and weeks ago. So making notes of these things in a book, in the PPMs, anything like that would be really, really handy. And then making sure, and I know it's slightly different at school, and you know, hand on heart, not all learners enjoy every subject they do, but it's trying to find that enjoyment in the subject, asking for help from not only the teacher and the staff in the school, but from the peers as well. I've put using tools like social networking sites. I think that's quite important, and then classing teams in that. So trying to generate them discussions in teams would be really, really beneficial for the learners if they can message the teacher, but at the same time it messages their class, and hopefully then we can gauge that discussion from there. In terms of the caution, again, I've not put this together, and it was actually quite interesting for me. I had an idea about this, but it was quite interesting for me when I researched this and about search engines and websites. So do be cautious about them. I'm not saying they're a bad thing at all. I use them all the time, every single day. But it is really, really important that when you type certain words into your browser or your search engine, phrases, for example, it's an automated process. It's not someone at the other end, obviously, looking through it, vetting it. It's all made through algorithms. So the top result doesn't mean it's the best result. It could be paid for. Sometimes now they say ads next to it, so you'd be aware of the ones that are paid for. Or they could be manipulated in a certain way by certain websites to make sure their content comes up first. So it's really, really important that you look as well, again, like I said before, about trusted websites, trusted sources, and like it says on there, whatever's top of Google doesn't mean it's top of Bing, etc. So do be aware of that when you're comparing. Also, obviously, some information online isn't credible, isn't real, isn't factual. Anyone can make a website, anyone can edit certain websites, so there's a lot of poor unverified work on there, you know, that can at times outweigh the really good stuff. So helping each other sift through that is really, really important. So I would say a key one would be talk to teachers and specialists about academic websites, subject specific websites. So just to summarize, use Teams, really, really important for content that staff have put on there, also to generate discussions. Do use search engines. I think they're really important, but be specific about what you type into them search engines, because also be cautious about what comes up. But again, when you're looking at your search engines, maybe look at some trusted websites that your teachers may have made you aware of. So these are some maths ones, so Corbett Maths, On Maths. I think Bite Size has come on massively since lockdown. I think it's one of the best websites out there. So using them trusted websites gives you that platform to go from, rather than picking one that you may not have heard of before. Any problems, again, just get the learners to speak to the members of staff and they can guide them further from there. Hopefully that's helpful, and hopefully everyone's safe, and I'll speak to you all soon.